Not correct. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets. Powered by BETSPERTS, we are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor. It's a nice button-up. I'm not much for the short-sleeve button-up, but I like it.
It's like a dad summer thing, this is a good one to go to like say a farmer's market in, or, come to work and watch the kids. And that's actually a shitty day out today, really. It's really rainy. Been that way for a while, but I'm indoors. I'm enjoying some, and speaking of rain, this golf might get rained out this afternoon too, which sucks. Sucks when rain affects our sports, but it is part of the deal. But yes, we are here on Friday, kind of the last week before the storm of sports. We were just going over the college football landscape for next, not only next week, but the week after that. There's a ton of college during the week. There's a Wednesday game, a handful of Friday games, and a big mess of Thursday games. That'll be fun. I think we're going to have at least one, if not two, college guests next week to talk. Little surprise. We might have a couple new shows kind of centered around some college football and also featuring some college football coming up on the horizon very soon. But for now, we're going to do what we do, because it's what we actually know. And no basketball today, but some golf, some tennis, some football, for sure some football. And we'll start with golf because they're playing. And yes, there's no cut, still 70 men, 69 men. Patrick Reed is out of the hospital. Update on that. But I played some round two plays here. These are kind of smaller bets, but I did put these in this morning. I think all of these are still afternoon tee times, where none of these guys have actually started. Usti over how, and I took all underdogs. I found I basically went in thinking any underdog price where I have the two golfers even close, I'm going to grab, because this course is playing like a muni. Alex could go out there and shoot 3 over today. It's soft. It's easy.
For 9 holes.
There's 60s. There's some 61, 62s out there for somebody. So high variance. I'm going to take dogs when they're good golfers and they're playing decent. So Usti over Hovland. I think Usti looked fine yesterday. I don't think we were too worried about the withdrawal. And Hovland, hot start, but came back to earth. Actually, they were a matchup yesterday too. I think Usti missed a 4-footer to push on that. Koepka, another one that came out hot. He played well. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle when Rory and Rahm played a lot better. Got him over Xander, who I'm excited about betting next week again. Homa over Tony. We're still in the Tony hangover phase. It's not like he played bad, but again, if I'm going to get plus 150 against Tony right now, I'll take that with Max Homa. And then Kevin Kisner, who had the quote of the day yesterday when he told someone in the did you see that at all, Alex? He laid up, and somebody in the
I didn't see that yet.
Somebody in the gallery says, "Why don't you go for it? Why would you lay up?" And he says, "Why don't you go after yourself?" And then he racked up some birdies.
Recognize the name.
Chuck Hoffman's a guy I love, but I will take Kevin Kisner over Chuck Hoffman at that price, plus 142. So a bunch of underdogs for me today. If I have anything going into the weekend, I will post it on Twitter. I'll post it on BETSPERTS, and we'll get to it. Yeah, had Matt, producer Matt, we'll call him today. We'll give him that title because he is producing.
Well, he is.
Said he did birdie a bunch of holes after that. And we're on to Cleveland. We're on to tennis. Let's talk tennis.
So much tennis. Like you said, we're on the precipice of all these things. We'll get to the U.S. Open specifically, but just wanted to touch on the matches that are actually today separately. Nothing in Chicago. That event continues on. Didn't see anything I liked there. But in Cleveland, I did grab Sarah Soraba's Tormo here, who I'm sorry, I can't believe I did this again. I failed to pull up who she was actually playing. But she's an underdog in this match. It's against Annette Kontaveit, that's right. She's an underdog in a match here that I have her, honestly, as a small favorite. Kontaveit is very good. She hits the ball with a lot of power. I'm not generally sure how quickly these courts are, but she's generally better on quicker hard courts. She's had a nice week this week. Very talented player, but as I look at Tormo's year, and this is odd for me to say, Tormo was someone that I used to bet against a lot on hard courts. She generally was a clay court player, but this year has been really strong on the surface. Again, I have her a small favorite. I'd have her -115, -120, something like that, and Conteve close to even if I was hanging lines myself. But an opportunity to grab her at plus money looks great to me in what is a coin flip match. Was able to get her at +120, a little better than that. +110, +115 looks fine to me. So we'll play Tormo there in Cleveland. And then for the U.S. Open qualifiers, today is the last day of qualifying. They'll wrap everything up. There'll be, I think there is up to 19 spots they have to fill with withdrawals and things like that. So we'll see how that all shakes out. We're going to take Olga Danilovic -2.5 games here. She's playing Caroline Dahlheide, a veteran U.S. player who's just kind of struggled all year, kind of stumbled to wins in her first 2 matches here against inferior opponents. Danilovic, someone who is really kind of having a nice second half of the season here and building into some form. I'm actually excited to see where she gets placed in this draw. I think she'll be fun in the first round, but I have her comfortably winning this match here. Happy to grab 2.5. Was able to get this at a little better than standard juice, but that's fine. If you see a 3 at plus money, that's fine too. Again, these are qualifiers, so it's tougher to find some things like that. 2.5 is what I'm seeing most places, though. And then a parlay. These didn't go so great yesterday. Went 3 out of 3 on the money lines, Andy, but unfortunately none of them were together. So we'll try to do a little bit better today. Dodan's playing Christina Buska. Again, Buska, a young player who's had a nice year, but Dodan just far outclasses her. The money line there is around -185. I have that out in the 225, almost 250 range. And then Anna Konyu, just a good player who continues to work herself back into form. She is -400 against Vigeli, but I have her out to like -600, almost -800 as I start to tweak some stuff. So put the two together here, not quite even money. And those are 3 plays. And these are all this afternoon.
Give you something to do on Friday afternoon as you try to avoid work. And when is the very first match of round 1 for the U.S. Open? When are they kicking things off on the women's side?
Monday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern in New York City. Knock on wood, assuming the weather's okay. Looks like it's going to be okay. And I'll be there. Maybe I'll be doing the show live from there. I'm going to see if I can find a spot. But boots on the ground, Andy. We'll see if we can do a little live betting if anybody has that. Do a little court siding.
A little court siding. Yeah, wink, wink. We're not really going to do that because
no one even hangs that stuff anymore. I don't think. At least nothing I have access to.
But we finally get the timing down to get some outrights for a tennis tournament and a big one at that. So looks like you have a decent. Well, they're all long shots, I guess. I mean, Krejcikova's right there, but the big one is Samsonova. Wow, big price. Explain these to me because I couldn't pick most of these girls out of a lineup. Kerber for sure.
It is fun with the Grand Slams. They usually do the draws late Thursday, or sometimes even they'll make you wait till Friday. But draw came out yesterday. Still working on my full preview. That'll be out later today. You can find that on Twitter and a couple other different places. I'll make sure I get that on my BETSPERTS profile as well. But outrights, we've got 4 of them. A little bit of a smaller card. Sometimes I'll have up to 6 to 8, especially in a big event like this with 128 names. But as I start to look at the field, the WTA still does have a lot of variance. There's a lot of parity. There's a lot of women that have a chance to win this tournament. But it seems like every week that number gets to be less and less. As I start to look at the draw, you've got Ashley Barty in the first quarter in what is a pretty competitive quarter, but hard to see anybody really kind of upsetting the apple cart there for her. Not too much there. As you look into the second quarter, you've got Naomi Osaka down. I'm sorry, that's the third quarter. You look in the second quarter, you've got Karolina Pliskova and Bianca Andreescu, and those are 2 women. Pliskova did make the second round. Did finish second at Wimbledon. Andreescu, we know at a moment's notice can snap into some great form, but I think they're just getting a lot more respect really than they deserve here in the outright market. So as a result of this, Andy, you kind of have a few women. Barty is the favorite, then Osaka, then you have Sabalenka, then everybody else groups from 16 to about 22, and then you have a handful of women kind of in the 30s. And as I start to look around the draw, Krejcikova at 22-1 was the first name that I saw that I really liked. We're getting some value on her. She is in Arina Sabalenka's quarter and is likely to play her in the quarterfinal. But I have her as pretty much even, if not slightly favored in that match. And Sabalenka is someone that we've seen falter in Grand Slams. She struggles to do well in these tournaments. People having a couple allow a day in between matches to recover and prepare for her. She also has to play Danielle Collins earlier, who's been looking very good. So as I look at Krejcikova, I think she can win her quarter. She probably will have to play Osaka in the semifinals, but Osaka hasn't been playing much tennis and hasn't been playing well. And you listen to her conferences, the way she's talking about how she doesn't like being the hunted one, if you will, as opposed to being an underdog. You know, maybe she's kind of downplaying things, but I think Osaka's got a tough draw, and Krejcikova might be able to avoid her. And I think we're going to get to see her play Barty for the third time here in the final, Andy. So at 22-1, I have her coming out of this quarter, at which point we've got a ton of equity on that number. The second one we've got there, Elena Rybakina. This is someone we bet on a few times, like her in a lot of these events. You know, as I mentioned, you look down there, I think Osaka's beatable. And Rybakina is sitting there in that corner. She's right near Simona Halep and Alina Svitolina, which are big names, but Svitolina, we know, generally doesn't have the overall talent and power you need to beat a lot of these players. Simona Halep is injured, and I believe is actually out to being a small underdog in her first round, but is still has an outright price that's kind of driving value here for us, and Rybakina at 33-1. She may have to face Osaka in the quarterfinals. I'm not thrilled about that, but I think she can win that match, even though she will be an underdog. And again, I'm not 100% sure Osaka's going to be there. So we'll grab Rybakina at 33-1. And then Kerber at 45-1. She had a great grass season, has really snapped into form. She's in that same quarter with Svitolina, with Osaka, with Rybakina. She's in the bottom section, so she might actually be the one to knock Osaka off. I think there's a decent chance we have two quarterfinalists here. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I know at these odds it's more hoping than anything, but as I look at these numbers, I think there's a much better chance than what we're seeing. And then Samsonova is someone that I think is still kind of criminally underrated in the market. She hasn't played a ton of tennis lately. She took some time off actually to get healthy and prepare for this event. She might have to play Andreescu as early as the third round, but I think she can win that match. Based on what this number is telling me, Andy, I'm going to be betting Samsonova a lot in some of these individual matches, but 150-1, happy to grab her. So 4 outrights for us to start. I might look at some quarter prices and other things. I'll share those again on my Twitter account, but that's what we got to start.
I was just going to say I might take some Samsonova, quarter price too, just because it's tough to get somebody that deep, that far. Yeah, it looks like you did make some bets already. Yeah, probably. I like quarter prices quite a bit. And odds, like you mentioned, Barty's or Kerber. I can't remember which, but you mentioned somebody's first round odds. There are first round odds, and you've already slap hammered a couple of those, especially the one at the bottom there. I like that. Full agree. That's like a price that should have been. I mean, that price makes sense like 6 weeks ago when she wasn't good, but then you go on a run like that, she should get a little more respect. But I'll let you start at the top before we get to Sloaner.
Yeah, Sloaner's exciting. A few people on that one. I might actually add a little bit more. I'm going to go poke around and see if I can still find that number. We'll start with Alizé Cornet playing Ons Jabeur. This is a total. They've hung it at 20. I believe I got this at -115. I have this at 21. And could make a good case for hanging a 21.5 on this, depending on how Cornet looks. She's playing solid tennis this week, still hasn't lost. Yes, you tend to be worried about fatigue, but you have to remember with these Grand Slams, there's a day off in between matches, and they generally do players favors who have long weeks before. Said another way, I don't expect this match to be day one. I think this will get bumped back to day 2 if Cornet makes the final in the tournament she's playing this week, so she'll have some time to rest and recover. She's very competitive on hard courts, I think much better than people realize. Jabeur is someone who generally plays long matches anyway, so happy to take the over there. We're going back to golf overs, Andy. And apologies to Miss Lynette. I spelled her name wrong. There's no R on the end of that. But 19.5, I was shocked.
It's a nickname.
I was shocked. I have this at 21. I don't know if I'd hang a 21.5 here if I'm being perfectly honest, but that looks at least a game off to me. So happy to play the 19.5. If you have 20 at standard juice or better, obviously that's fine too. We know how good golf overs are. Lynette, again, similar to Cornet. It's kind of a similar story to the last match. You have a big name, Goff, who's a heavy favorite. And although Goff should probably be a heavy favorite, the money line, the total is sort of tied to that money line, I believe. And I think that's generally a bad way of doing things in a couple of these cases. So another example there, Andreescu, a solid favorite over Golubic. Golubic is someone who had a nice grass season, has been okay on hard courts. I might find a way to back her, maybe on like a set spread or a handicap. I'm not sure yet. Haven't had enough time to poke around some of that stuff. But as someone who generally plays long matches, Andreescu has struggled to put anyone away all year. I think that this should be a 21 as opposed to the 20 we're getting. So 3 nice totals for us to start. Then we'll grab a spread. Storm Sanders -2.5, someone I like to back quite a bit. I think she is kind of underrated here. She's playing against Misaki Doi. This is a match that I'm going to bet on and I'm not going to watch. I have no interest in seeing what this happens. There's going to be a lot of other tennis. It's going to be more fun to watch, but I think Sanders should be at least -3.5 games, if not close to 4 here. So like the 2.5. Sue Shea, the crafty veteran, +105 against Claire Liu. Not really sure why the American here is the favorite in this match. I have Shea the favorite. She's been playing solid tennis and is generally better than Liu is. So kind of confused about that number, frankly. And then finally, as you mentioned, Sloane Stephens playing Madison Keys. This match really tough for the books. Madison Keys a big name. Sloane Stephens a big name. Neither one of them has done too much over the last year and a half. But as you mentioned, over the last couple of weeks, Sloane Stephens has really perked up. She's played some nice tennis, won a couple matches in tournaments, is starting to look in solid form. I don't know if she can make a deep run in the spot she's in the draw, but I have her favorite here over Madison Keys. I would have it probably -110 each way, and maybe Sloane a small favorite. So happy to get her at plus money, and I know you like that as well of our other compadre who gave out another consensus pick on Tampa Bay. So I guess
was it Tampa Bay Lightning, yeah.
This is our second brown bag consensus with Bo.
Yeah, anytime you can get the Canadian to agree with us, I think you're in good hands. And yeah, I did play that Stevens already, and there's a couple other, like the golf over. I just instant follow those for sure. And yeah, it's NFL. We didn't have Thursday, kind of a weird week, and it is week 3. A lot of news. People are treating the preseason way differently than in previous years. I did put together a PrizePicks entry for tonight. Some exciting news on PrizePicks stuff next week. I'll have some cool giveaways, as in like if you download a PrizePicks app, if you download the app with our promo codes, I'll give you free entries. Like I'll give you a free entry into the Thursday night where you can sit and win some money for a 0 risk entry. So it'll just be credited to your account. You can do a free kind of a long shot entry and make some decent money on the Thursday night game.
That's on top of the deposit bonus, right?
Yeah, and you still can get the deposit bonus as well. But yeah, free entry for some stuff. I'll go over that when we get to it next week. But I went with a couple overs tonight. Jarek McKinnon and Nick Mullins, and these are just, again, based on who's going to be playing. We're having some weirdness in a couple of these games based on who's playing who. Everybody, like the Jets numbers got steamed to the bejesus belt. The Eagles aren't really playing anybody, so you're going to see some heavy Nick Mullins time. Hopefully he gets more time than Mr. Flacco, but his yardage was only in the 70s. I took an over there. And then Jarek McKinnon, I'm going to get some decent – they're going to go with some starters apparently at the Chiefs. But with Hilaire and Williams out injured, you should still see a decent amount of carries for almost all of the running backs, and definitely McKinnon. And he's sitting pretty high up on the depth chart based on just where the injuries are right now. So him getting to basically to 20 yards, playing this as a 3-to-1er. So if these two hit, I will win 3 times my money. And yeah, like I said, there's 4 games. We'll go over a couple games before it's got kind of Friday jam-packed Friday, really. I didn't bet either of these.
NFL handicap.
Yeah, I didn't bet at either of these, but I know plenty of people who grab Jets early at -4. It's up to -6. It is based on, like, Wilson's look good. They have a couple wide receivers that are looking good with him. One has just the blandest name in the world. I can't think of him right now. But a couple of receivers in him are jiving well in camp. These two teams did some combined practices too. So I think that's the reason why you're seeing some people sitting out. Colts and Lions, I don't have a strong take on that one either. Eason's going to start for the Colts, and then Ellinger and Hundley going to get mixed in. So that's what you're going to get. The Colts are a small favorite there, even though I think the Lions are going to be starting a little less of their starting lineup. I don't know if you bet any preseason tonight. Yeah, I'm leaving those two alone. If you didn't get an early number on the Jets,
I lean Indianapolis. Like you said, the Jets number, it's fun to see in the preseason. There's already CLV in play, and I don't mind the Colts at -2, but There's other things I'm going to be doing to distract myself.
Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith is the receiver. And then the other two games, there's 4 games tonight. They're all kind of around the same time. You can't sit and do a marathon of preseason, but Steelers, Panthers, and Vikings, Chiefs. Chiefs are allegedly going to be starting some starters again. I think some coaches are taking advantage of this because they're getting a week off. They get next week off before the season starts. So you can start some starters and not worry about getting them banged up right before week 1 starts. So if you see the Chiefs starters in the first half, this might be a hell of a gift right there. Maybe Chiefs first half, Chiefs team total over first half, something like that. The Vikings have been pretty ugly in preseason, even though they're usually a bet on with Mike Zimmer. They just might not be that good. And then Steelers, Panthers, I don't have a ton on that one either. It is Panthers -3 there, and the Steelers. I haven't got real strong reports either way on that, and that it was a big move off the opener, but based off that's what moved it. And from today on, there hasn't been really any updated information on that. But Steelers, the Steelers were underdogs, I believe, when that one opened. So people are getting some nasty CLV in the preseason. That is a thing that exists for sure.
It happens always with the football. And they're tough games. I think you're right. Chiefs first half angles, I like those a lot. I might go and put a few shekels on that for fun.
And Patrick brings us up. Chiefs first half line is higher than the full game. That'll happen in the preseason.
It does make sense. The only time
it will. That stuff does happen. So, and finally, I made my first NFL bet.
You did.
For the regular season.
I could feel you warming up on it. I've been listening to a lot of the deep dives, and I could see you guys kind of getting antsy and ready to get some week 1 bets. So I'm excited.
I did. These are what I actually placed. I can make cases for anything close to this. There are still key numbers. It's tough. You shop, find your best numbers. But Broncos and Giants under. I am very happy about the Teddy Bridgewater news. I think that offense will be very vanilla, very check downy. Teddy's great. Teddy's a good game manager, but that offense does not give me any, even with those good receivers and with Sutton coming back, I still think probably a slow start for that offense, probably a slow start for the Giants offense. I'm not sure that we're going to see Saquon in week 1, and I love both of these defenses. It is one of the lowest totals on the board for a reason, and I'm willing to take this down to like 41. This game lands in the 30s for most of what I'm putting together.
Running. There's going to be so many first and second down runs. Oh my God.
And that's the thing too. You have two coaches I don't really love, 2 offensive coordinators I'm not in love with as well. There should be some, like you said, first down runs would be great in that one. Field goals would be great too. And on the other end, like Patrick in the chat said, Jets defense keeps losing bodies. This Jets defense wasn't going to be high end anyway. We were hopeful for it, but it was never going to be great. And then they had 4 injuries right off the bat. So Jets Panthers over, I believe. This is another one our buddy Suma brought up too. I think he's on this as well. I sold this up to 44 to get plus money. Yeah, you get Jets defense versus, and Darnold. You can say Darnold revenge game too if you really want, I guess. But it is just anybody versus this Jets defense, and the Jets offense isn't going to look terrible. I do believe in what we're seeing in camp might translate to some decent play from the young quarterback. So over 44 there, and that's it. I haven't added Dutch. We got 2 weeks yet. I probably have a pretty decent week 1 card. I usually do have quite a few games, and we'll get to those when we get to them.
I'm excited. I'm pumped. It's like we were talking about before the show. I am just amazed at how quickly all this stuff is kind of coming up on top of us. So a lot to catch up on, while also a lot to do at the same time.
Yeah, I think we'll get there when we get there, and I'll see you guys. Anybody who's going to be out in Vegas, I'll see you there. Week 1, I'll be out there for the first week. Actually, Drew's going to stop out. A bunch of other people will have some more info about that later next week. And like I said, look for some college content coming up very soon, possibly as soon as today. And with that, should call it a week, Alex. I think so.
Let's do it. As I mentioned, a lot to get to. Not that we don't want to talk to you guys, but we got to get ready because even more's happening next week.
yeah, I got to get lunch and then I got to work on college football stuff. So we'll see you guys. If you're in the chat, do give us a thumbs up. Like I said, new content coming. So a good idea would be to subscribe to that YouTube channel. That's always helpful. Then you'll find anything new. Anybody who caught that Suma episode on the deep dive that was released on YouTube first, if you want the stuff first, that's where it's going to go. I'm not saying there's going to be another interview with another smart football analyst next week, but I'm saying that, but there will be. And it'll be a surprise when that comes out. So look for that next week as well.
I love a surprise.
Yeah, have a good weekend, Alex.
See you guys.